right, here we are. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is Fermyon Live, and this is a very special episode because we started the Advent of Spin 2024 last week. So we released the first challenge, and the idea is that we code through the first challenge during this stream before we will release the second challenge once we are done with implementing everything. So let me quickly bring up my screen. There we go. And I think we switched to this layout for now. So you should now see my screen. And what I'm basically looking at right now is our Advent of Spin GitHub repository, where you can find not just the challenges from this year, but also the challenges from the previous editions. So if you're new to Spin, I would highly recommend you starting maybe with the first challenge of 2022, which gives you a nice introduction into Spin and the realm of server-side WebAssembly at all. All right, by the way, let me know from where you're joining in. So you can obviously use the chat on YouTube, and I try to have a look at the chat every now and then and answer questions or join the conversation. Cool. So let me get rid of the banner over there. And let's have a look at the first challenge of 24. So I would go and read through the challenge so that everybody is, on the same track and knows what this is all about before we jump in and implement, requirement after requirement. So welcome to challenge 1 of Fermyon's Advent of Spin 2024. The first challenge will introduce you to the Spin CLI. So that's basically the tool that you use to build new server-side WebAssembly applications that you use to compile your code down to WebAssembly and to run the apps on your local machine. We will also implement a simple front end. We will serve some static content. We will use key value store, and we deploying your first app to cloud or somewhere else publicly available, obviously. The Advent of Spin test harness and submission process. Yeah, then there's some, general introduction. So if this is the first time, as I already said, it may be a good idea to go back to the challenge 1 of 2022, because that's like a super great introduction into Spin at all. This year, the stakes are a bit higher and the challenges are more challenging. The Fermyon elves have decided to help Santa use serverless WebAssembly for Santa's latest app idea and make use of different features provided by Spin, such as the key value stores, serverless AI, and component dependencies. Your task is to help the elves to get the project up and running before Christmas Eve. The elves will hang out in the Fermyon Discord. So we have a Discord server. We are happy to answer your questions and, to talk all about Spin, WebAssembly, SpinCube, Fermyon Cloud, and all those things. All right, Santa's app idea. As you can imagine, Santa and his elves are busy these days. Once built, the new app will support them in completing several Christmas-related tasks. With every challenge, you're asked to add a new feature to the application. So this is for the Advent of Spin 2024. The idea is to end the Advent of Spin with a full-fledged application that has 4 different features that Santa and his elves could use on their day-to-day business. Specification. The first challenge is about laying the foundation for Santa's new app and implementing a simple wish list management feature. You can write Spin apps using any language that compiles to WebAssembly. To skip the boilerplate, use Spin New and use one of our existing templates. Okay, so we should use Spin to create a new application, and we can leverage different templates to get started with these. Hint: as you will be asked to add more and more features to the Spin app during Advent of Spin 2024, we recommend starting using the http-empty template and adding more and more components to the Spin app using the spin add command. All right, this sounds like a pretty valuable tip. Because the HTTP empty template allows you to, lay out your apps in different maybe sections or areas where you have different triggers, that make Spin invoke the desired component. Cool. So let's keep that in mind, that we should start with HTTP empty, and we can use the add command to add more and more components. Create a wishlist management frontend. Center and his elves really need a simple frontend to get things done as quickly as possible. The first feature is all about dealing with massive amount of wish lists that flood Center's mailbox. Build a simple frontend allowing Center and his elves to add and list all wish lists. Although Center has no opinions on the tech stack you choose, he asked the elves to check if an index.html file exists in the root of your application and to take a screenshot to show Center your amazing work. Kids all around the world get super excited when it is time to create their wish lists for Christmas. All right. Although all those wish lists differ in color, form, and length, yeah, obviously, the elves were able to discover a common pattern over the past centuries. Okay, so every wish list basically consists of a name and an array of strings containing all the items that that child has put on his wish list. Hint: Santa really loves Christmas-themed apps. The elves told us that there are plenty of image generation AIs available that you could use to generate awesome images. We caught the elves talking about ChatGPT and Microsoft Designer. Maybe it's worth using them to create a Christmassy image for your front-end app. Okay, so basically we can make our app stand out a little bit by generating some images and display them as part of our front end. Create a wishlist management backend. Santa thought about using key value store to ensure all wishlists are stored securely and are instantly available if needed. Luckily, Spin SDKs dramatically streamline interaction with key value stores and make exposing necessary features for managing wishlists over HTTP easy. Add another component to your Spin app. The API component should expose the following endpoints. So we should create a get endpoint to receive all the wish lists at once, and we should create a post endpoint to store a new wish list in key value store. The elves will store wish lists by sending a post request to API/wishlist. The body of the post call to API wishlist will contain a wishlist as JSON. Okay, this is basically the same structure as the elves determined over the past centuries. So this is what we receive on our API endpoint when someone wants to store a new wishlist in our system. When posting, the elves expect an HTTP status code 201 to be returned. Requests with malformatted payloads should respond with a bad request HTTP status code, which is 400. While browsing all the wish lists using the front end, a GET request should be sent to /API/wishlists, which must respond with an array containing all wishlists. The response must also have a content type HTTP header set to application JSON. The schema of the response body must look like this. So that is basically an array with all the different wish lists in it. Okay, tests. You can run our Hurl test suite, which is test.hurl. which will carry out tests similar to what the elves will use your application for when you submit it. Ensure you have Hurl installed. Okay, so there are, let's first test if we have Hurl installed. So we can do which Hurl. And as you can see, I installed Hurl through Homebrew. If you have not installed Hurl yet, you can go to hurl.dev, and there you can find different installation instructions on how to install Hurl on your machine using different package managers, or maybe just grab an existing release from GitHub. Cool. What else do we have? Okay, there is, once the application is deployed, enter the endpoint as service URL below and run the command. Okay, so this is basically how we submit our solution for challenge 1, and then we have further information that you don't have to code alone, right? You can join our Discord server, we will tweet, and we are on Blue Sky as well, and we have LinkedIn where we hang out, and we are happy to answer your questions. I think the most valuable source is Discord, where you can engage with all the Spin and WebAssembly community. Cool. So this was a lot, right? There were a couple of requirements that we have to address, but I think this hint is like our starting point, right? We should start with an HTTP empty template, and then we can go from there and add more and more components. So what I've prepared, I've created an empty GitHub repository. So this is github.com/Thorsten Hans/advent of Spin 2024. And what I will do right now, I will simply go there and clone this empty repository to my machine. So git clone Advent of Spin 2024. And as you can see, there is an empty folder right now. And let's start with the hint. So we do a new, and we choose the HTTP empty template. And let's call that Advent of Spin 2024. Advent of Spin 2024. We don't provide a description for now, and let's see what we get. We got that folder over here. We have to spin trommel. Yeah, I think I would prefer to have it in the root folder, and the same for the git ignore. Let's also move that to there. Okay, so let's open up this in code, and let's bump the font size a little bit. There we go. So far, this is super plain because there's nothing in our app yet. Although the instructions start with the front end, I will approach it from bottom to top. So I will start with implementing the wishlist management backend first. So we want to expose an HTTP API. I will choose Rust for implementing all the challenges throughout the Advent of Spin 2024. So let me add a new component over here, which is a spin add according to the tip. Okay, HTTP Rust. And this is wish, or let's say API / wish lists. Yeah. Okay. And we want this app basically to react on requests with /API / wish lists. And then we can use the router, to instruct the app to behave differently for GET requests and for POST requests. So let's say /API / wish lists and everything behind that. Okay. So now if we go back to VS Code, we see that we have an HTTP trigger configured to, react on requests that are prefixed with API /wishlist, and that it should invoke the API wishlists component. All right, we know already that we should use key value stores, and I will stick with the default key value store over here. Cool. Next, it's about implementing it. And I prefer to open this component in a new VS Code instance in order to make Rust Analyzer happy, and so that I don't have to configure workspaces for now. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. All right. Let's get rid of the Hello World implementation. And let's say we want to leverage the router from the Spin SDK. And at some point we say router handle the request. Cool. And then we say router, there's a get at API wish lists that should get all wish lists. Next, we have the router.post at the same route, right? That should add wish list. Okay, next we have to provide both functions. So there's a function get all wish lists that we have the request. I don't think we need params. And we must return a result that implements into response. And then we can copy this one and call it wishlist. All right. Let's say, okay, response new 500. Cool. So now we have valid source code. Let's go back to the actual requirements. The body of the post call to API /wishlist will contain a wishlist as JSON. So we have to come up with a struct that we can, serialize and deserialize JSON, because this is basically also the same. So in Rust, we can make use of two popular crates over here. One is 30 with the derive feature, and another one is cargo at 30_JSON to, serialize and deserialize from and to JSON. Okay, so let's create our pub crate struct wish list. The wish list has a name, which is a string, and it has items, which is a vector of string. Oops. So like this. And as we want to use that structure on the way in for the post request and on the way out for get requests to return the list of all wish lists. So we can say derive over here, and we can derive from serialize and deserialize. Cool. So first, let's take care of adding a new item to the key value store. Let me check. There were other requirements, right? When posting, the elves expect an HTTP status code of 201. Okay, requests with malformatted payloads should respond with a bad request. Okay, so this is the first task is obviously trying to convert request body into our wishlist struct. So if that succeeds, we can continue with processing. If that fails, we should return an HTTP 400. So let's take care of that. We can say, so we have 30 JSON, right? And we can say from slice, and we can provide the request.body over here. Then we can obviously say we are interested in a wish list. And this, I think that returns a result of T. Yeah. So let's say let OK. Oh, let's call it model equals to that. And if conversion from body into that wish list fails, we want to return OK response new 400. And let's say that request. Okay. Let's check. We are still missing. Okay. Oh, we know that we should return, let's say, response builder new 201. Let's set an empty body for now. Okay, so now we already achieved that one requirement, that we return an HTTP 400 if the payload does not match the structure that the wishlist struct defines over here. Cool. Is there anything else we have to take care of? Let's check. While browsing, there's a GET requests. Nope. So 201. Obviously, we have to store the value, right? So let's say let store equals store open default. And now we have to use the store set JSON is what we could use. And we have to come up with a key. So let's say key, we will define that. And the value is our model. And obviously this could fail because there is potentially a network between our app and the key value store. So let's implement a get key. Let's see what happens if actually we could simply take the name of the person provided, but then we have like an space, or we may end up with a space in the key, and I think I don't like that. So what we could do is we could cargo at URL encoding, right? So we could basically go and say, hey, let's treat it, let's take the name and let's URL encode it, maybe also to lowercase, so that we have a uniform, you're right, like a consistent pattern how keys are computed for the key value store. So let's come up with the input block for the wish list over here. And let's say there is a new function called getKey, and that will take a reference to our wish list instance, and it should simply return a string for now. So we have self.name, and I added the URL encoding crate, so we can say encode self.name. Let's clone that one, because I want to ensure that we do it to lowercase. Okay, so this is right now. Okay, this is a return cow string, so we can say to string again. And this is, I guess, that's expecting a stir, and we provide a string, so we can say as stir over there. Cool. So that means for, let's say, name equals Torsten Hans, we get back Torsten 20, and for name equals Joe, we get back Joe, and so on and so forth, right? Cool. Then let's take that get key, let key equals model key. And we have already stored everything. Yep. Do we want to return? No, we don't have to. So the challenge did not ask us to return that. All right, next is returning a list. By browsing all wish lists on front end, a GET request should be sent to API wish lists, which must respond with an array containing all wish lists. The response must also have the content type header set to application JSON, and we return basically a vector of wish list structs, right? Okay, so we know that already. You can say let mod result equals to vec. Start with an empty vector. Yeah, then we have to type it. So there's a vector of wish list. All right. So for the incoming request, we have to open up the store again, store open default. With the store in place, we can call get keys. Yep, store get keys. Let all keys equals this. Okay, and now we could simply render or run over all the keys and call and call the get JSON method again. So we say for key in all keys store get JSON, pass in the key, and we have to specify that we are interested in a wish list. And this again returns a result. We can simply use pattern matching here to say, hey, come on, if this succeeded and this returns a result, and the result is an option of T. Yeah. So if we receive some value that is a wish list, right? We want to do a result dot push the wish list. If for whatever reason the key at the value at that key is not the wish list, we simply want to skip that thing. Cool. So this means we have a vector with all our wish lists right now, and we have to create a JSON representation of that. Let's say this is our payload. So we can use 30 JSON, and we can say we could use toString pretty, but we can also use toVec, which gives us like an U8 vector. And the U8 vector, we can simply pass that also to the body function of the response builder. Okay, so toVec, and we pass in, I guess, the reference to our result. Again, this may fail. So if that fails, we will simply return, or we will return early with an HTTP 500. So next it is just creating response builder, new 200. And we have to set the content type header to application JSON. Okay. So there's header, content, folder-type, application JSON, and let's say body is our payload. It's called the build method. And I guess this is it. This is it for our backend. Let's see if the Rust compiler is happy with us. So let's do a simple spin build. All right, that looks good. Let's close this instance of VS Code again. So here we are where our spin.toml is. So let's do a spin up to run the app on the local system. There we go. So let's try and call into the API to get the list of all wish lists. And as we, expected, there is nothing in there yet. So let's increase this and let's do a curl ix post. And let's try content type application JSON. And let's add a wish list to our wish list management app. So name is, let's go with my name, Thorsten Hans. Items was an array. Oh no, the double quotes over there. And I really want to have another mechanical keyboard. Looks good. Let's try. We get a 201 created, and let's check again. There we go. This is nice. So we could say we are done with implementing like the backend part of our application. Now we have to implement a front end. So obviously there are like different ways to implement a front end. I will use Angular to build a front end. And for serving the front end, we could do a spin add and use the static file server. So this is our front end, right? That's how we call the component. We want to have that listen on the root route because it's somewhere mentioned the else to check if an index.html file exists at the root of your application. Okay, so we are good with using the wildcard without the prefix of static over here. And we will, let's say, our compile, so the compilation result of our Angular app will resist in the app folder. Okay, so this should basically, it creates the app folder and it wires everything up in spin.toml. So we expect to have a new trigger. Yes, and that's using the static file server there. Let me do reordering this because I want to have the triggers all together at the beginning and then the components in the correct order. So let's put it over there. There we go. Cool. So next is bootstrapping an Angular app. I have installed Angular CLI on my machine. Let's check which ng. Yep, there is Angular installed on my machine. So let's say ng new. And let's call it the front end. So this should generate a new, we want to do CSS for now. We don't want to use server-side rendering. Okay, so this generates a front-end folder over here with all the, Angular specific files and folders and structure. So let's npm install everything. In the meantime, we could check the requirements. Okay, so basically we need like two routes or two different like front ends. One to add a wish list and the other one to list all the wish lists. Cool. As I'm not a designer guy, let me use Bootstrap. Although, I mean, there are more modern things than Bootstrap, but I mean, I think we could build something nice also with Bootstrap. Okay, so this is the Bootstrap CSS. I will grab that from CDN. Okay, everything has been installed. Again, let's open up a new code instance in the front-end folder. And let's check what we got. So we have an index HTML. This is Santa's new app. Oh no, let's call it Advent of Spin 2024. And let's use emojis. Okay, let's bring in Twitter Bootstrap. Cool. So first, let's ensure that everything compiles, right? Do we have an ng build? Okay, this creates a dist folder, and within the dist folder, we have a browser folder. There's our app, right? And what we basically want to do, let me switch back to the top level VS Code over here. So we instructed the app that all the static content that Spin should serve will remain in this app folder. So what we could do, we can say there is a build, npm run build, and that should obviously do ng build as I manually invoked it, but then it should, let's see, we clean the contents of the folder app. So that's one level up. Then there's app, and let's remove everything there. And then we want to move everything from, let's see, dist frontend browser. Okay, let's move everything from dist frontend browser to /app. All right. And obviously we want to do that for every invocation of Spin build. So what we could do, we can say component frontend dot build. The work there is going to be frontend, and within that we want to execute npm run build. So let's try that. What do we expect? We expect when I execute spin build that it not just compiles our API wishlist component, but it should also invoke npm run build within our front-end folder. And then it should copy over everything from within that browser folder into the app folder. Oh, there we go. Error. What happened over here? Let me check. We remove everything. Oh, do we have to do like this? So there's the app folder. Yeah, I think that's could be it already. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so we see already in the app folder we have main MEA and so on and so forth. Let's check dist. Oh yeah, we moved the files. So yeah, that looks good. Cool. Let's test what happens if we run the app locally. There we go. Let's copy the URL. Let's go to the browser and let's paste it in. There we go. So we have in front end something. And now we obviously want to make that the advent of spin front end. Cool. So let's see. We have the index HTML over here. We already brought in Twitter Bootstrap, which is great. Then we have an app component. Let's see. Okay, they have some title. I don't think we need a title at all. And we have that generated HTML. Great. So let's check what we got over here. So I think this is required to make Bootstrap work the way it should, especially with responsiveness and stuff like that. So viewport width is device width and initial scale is 1. Let's check. Device width, initial scale 1. Okay. Yep, that's correct. And I really like, I mean, I haven't used Bootstrap for a while, so let's see how this goes. I mean, we can take this one and make it, you know, address whatever we need. So we render the app root. The app root is this one. So let's bring in this and let's say, oh, can we do like an ng serve, something like that? Yeah, that looks good. And there we go. So let's put that over there. Nope. And let's put that over there. Get rid of this one. All right. So this is the advent of Spin 2024. And obviously we need some emojis. Awesome. So do we need a toggler at all? Can we simply use a regular? Can we simply use a normal nav bar over there? Something like this. Okay. And let's bring back this. Okay, again, this is the advent of Spin 2024. Okay, this could be due to responsiveness, right? If we say, make this, come on, where's the window handler? Yeah. Okay, we have basically a home. Maybe we have a home. Yep. Yeah, this is where we will render some generated images, right? We can add Angular routing in a second. So this is basically the nav link. And we say this is home. Home is over there. Active, we do that differently. So we have add wish list and all wish lists, right? Okay, let's get rid of this disabled thing. Okay, next we need, I mean, we need to set up Angular routing, right? So that we can click on those links and then Angular loads the corresponding view into, or the component into the router outlet. Router outlet is a good hint. We will have a main section over there with a div class, and I think it is container. There we go, and we have a router outlet. Cool. So let's generate a bunch of components. Let me bring up this and let's make that a little bit bigger. So we say ng generate component home, add wish list, and all wish lists. Okay, so now we have like 3 components over here: add wish list, all wish lists, and a home component. So we can implement that. And we want to use routing. So we want to use routing. We have a path called wish all wish lists, and that should render the component all wish list component. We have of add wish list that has a component add wish list component. Okay, for everything else, we want to use the home component. Cool. Let's check. What do we have? This is the app config. So we have the zone change detection. We have a router. Okay. So we can use hash location with hash location. I think that's how it is these days in Angular. And let's also use, there is a debugging middleware with debug tracing. Cool. And I think for every component, they create like a stub, right? So home works, yeah. All wish lists works, and add wish list works. Okay, so let's try that again. ng serve. Let's check. So home works, that's is good. And this does not. Oh yeah, we have to obviously use the router, right? So we have, and this is, if I remember correctly, this is just a router link to, what route did we specify? All wish lists. And then we can copy this attribute, place it over there, and I think we have to remove this. Then we have the add wish list, and on the home, obviously, we have router link equals this. Okay, in order to make that work, we have to bring in also the router link. So home works. Let's click on the add wish list works, and all wish list works. Great, awesome. So next we wanna list all the wish lists as soon as we open up the all wish lists view. Okay, so we can do ng generate service wish list. There's a wish list service. There we go. And we want to have a wish list model that is basically export class wish list. Like this. Could have a constructor public, or how was it? Name string equals something like this. Oh, I think it is like this, isn't it? And we have public items, which is a string array equals to that. Okay. So we want to use HTTP, so we have to add the provide HTTP client. And our wishlist service that should request that private read-only HTTP. That is the HTTP client. So we have 2 methods. I think it's public by default, isn't it? Yeah. Public get all. Let's return observable wishlist array to retrieve the list of all. HTTP get. Okay, and we expect a wish list array from our implementation at API/wish list. Cool. And as we are here, we can also say public at wish list, and that returns an observable of, and I think we don't care. Yeah, because we simply return like an HTTP 201. So what do? We do this HTTP post, and we post to API/wish lists. What do we post? We post our wish list, and we want to ensure that we are good citizens. So we set the content type to application /JSON. Maybe the HTTP client does that automatically, but better safe than sorry. Okay, so this is the service. Now let's take care of listing all the wish lists, right? So we can implement. Is it on init? Yeah. So we can implement this one. Obviously, we need constructor injection over here. So constructor private read only wish list service. That's a wish list service. Private. Okay, so next is this .wishlist service get all. And we can simply subscribe. There are other ways how to do that, but let's keep it simple. So we simply subscribe to that. We could also use previously it was called async pipe, if I remember correctly, and bind that observable immediately to the front end. But let's do it like this. We come up with a protected property called wish lists. That is a wish list array, and by default it's empty. We can say this wish lists equals all. Cool. Let's take care of the front end. So this is all wish lists. And let's grab another, what do we do? List group. Yeah, something like that. So we have a list group. Okay, so let's do it. A div with the class of list group. And within that, we want to use a for wish list of wish lists. Wish list name. So we have the name of the person, and that should be like the indicator for Angular on which it should track unique values. Yeah, for real world scenarios, I would like have a unique ID, like a UUID on that wish list as well, and use that to track by. So HAref, do we need an? Why do we wanna? No, we don't want it. Can't we simply say div class list group item 3, and let's say flex. Oh no, d-flex is it? full width 100, 100, and justify content between, something like that. Just some bootstrap. Okay, this. And the diff closes over there, and then we can do a p.mb-1 and use another for item of wish list.items track item, which is a basic string, right? So we say diff item. Let's see what happens if we do a ng build. It compiles. It compiles, which is good. Let's try. Do I have another VS Code? Where's my VS Code instance? There we go. Spin build and spin out. Okay, let's go to localhost 3000. Wait, this is great. Okay, cool. So this works. Next, let's take care of adding a new wish list. So let's go to Twitter Bootstrap. Let's go to, where is forms? There we go. Let's use that. Or maybe let me quickly grab something that I've prepared already. So, because you don't want to see me typing way more HTML right now, so let me quickly grab the form. Okay. So there's our front end. Let's go to the HTML over there. Let's place this one and then we can go through that. Oh, this is not what I expected to see. So I want to use that. Or we use simple, so we will use simple ng model two-way binding over here, although there are reactive forms in Angular, which are way more powerful and give you way more control about form states and if a form is valid or not. As I said, we will keep that simple. So we have to implement in on submit function over there. And we have to bring in or generally add support for forms. So there is I think it's in the common module, we need a forms module over here. As we have two-way binding, we just come up with our protected name as a string, and we start with that, and we have a protected items as I also do a string over here. Then we will simply split it at a new line so we can render a text area, right? So we have a public on submit is I think what it is called. Let's check. Yeah, on submit. So first, let's do some housekeeping. So if this name length is lower than so there are only two characters in the name field, then we want to terminate. And the same applies if this items.length is lower than 3. We simply return. We have to use constructor injection again. So private, read only. What is this? That's the wish list service, wish list service. And so what do we want to do? We say, hey, we have a new wish list. Wish list, this.name, and we say this.items.split at the new line. Okay. Then we go to our wish list service and call add with our wish list. And then we subscribe. So if the action completed, what do we want to do? Well, we want to reset the form. So we can do this.name equals that, and this.items equals that. We could also redirect, because chances are, I would expect like adding a new wish list, and then I want to go to the list of all the wish lists, right? Instead of mass adding wish lists. So let's say private, read only. But that's my way of or like dealing with the requirements. So let's say we take the router, and then we say this.router navigate, and I think this has like an array syntax, something like this. Oh no, it was all wish lists, right? That was all right, wasn't it? All wish lists. Okay, cool. Let's try that. Let's go to over here and let's restart our app. There we go. Let's go to the browser. Let's reload this one. There we are already at wishlist. Let's say John Doe, and he wants to get a new ugly sweater and some cozy socks. Okay, let's try that. There we go. The item has been added and we got redirected to the list of all the wish lists, and we now see my wish list and John Doe's wish list. Cool. So let's check the requirements. Challenge 1, build a front end. Okay, users can add new wish lists. They can list all wish lists. Index HTML. Yes. Oh, this is a good. So as we're doing a single page application, we have to ensure that our that the static file server of Spin is able to handle reloads, or if you copy the link and share it with someone else, so that deep linking works. And if we do like a reload over here, that seems pretty good. Let's check static file server. Spin file server. So there is a configuration setting. Yeah, this one. And I think this is a good practice to set that. That indicates that someone requests an URL that is, not there, so where the physical file does not exist. We could simply return the index HTML to ensure that our single page application is rendered for every request. So let's add that to the spin toml over here. Yeah, and it is over here. Awesome. Okay, last but not least, I think we have to come up with a nice image, right? Some Microsoft Designer. Let's use that. Microsoft Designer, create a new image, and I already prompted it to generate something a couple of days ago. The advent of Spin. The The advent of spin. Okay. Oh, this one's great. Let's download that one. Download. So yeah, Microsoft Designer makes it super easy to generate like new images. And what was my prompt? Can I see the prompt? Edit. Oh no, I don't want to edit it. So basically my prompt was something along the lines, generate an image in that and that size and draw Santa's workshop, and the banner should say Advent of Spin 2024. So in the meantime, I have downloaded the image. Let me, where is my Finder window, downloads? And now let's go back to VS Code. And let's paste it there, and then we rename it. We call it header JPEG. And let's add that in the home component. Let's say EMG src class equals to, I think it's simply header.jpg. Alt equals Advent of Spin 2024. Let's check again. Let's go to the, oh, that's a little bit too big, right? Can we control that? We can control that by, I think we could easily set app home. Let's say and we could also say, no, well, let's say set it to this 80%. Oops, 80%, and let's set margin 10 peaks auto. So that should center it. Let's check again if that looks nice. It looks better. It's not centered yet. Why isn't it centered? So the app home, box sizing, 0px auto. Can't I simply say oh, is it Flexbox center? We can simply do div. Okay, so the workshop should be display flex. And now it should be, come on, centered. There we go. Nice. All right, so let's test if our submission actually works. So if we address all the requirements. So to do so, we can simply grab the hurl test command. Where is the advent of spin? There is the link. Go to challenge 1. We grab this one. Oh, we can copy the file. And let's say attach test1.hurl or test.hurl. Let's go to VS Code and let's paste that in, and then we can follow the instructions again and can do a test. This one. All right, let's go to a new terminal instance and let's execute this one. Oh. Yes, obviously, we have already created some items. So for testing, let's spin. Let's start our app again, because the test script will basically add a new item to the key value store, try to verify if that works, and then it will also ask for the list of all. And as you can see, we expect just one. So let's test it. There we go. We are good. So next is deploying this to Fermyon Cloud. So as we mentioned during the introduction of Advent of Spin, so everybody could create a free Fermyon Cloud account. So that's cloud.fermyon.com. You authenticate with your GitHub username, and then you can run 5 apps for free. So I already have an account. So I can simply do a spin, deploy over here. So this will right now take my app and deploy it to Fermyon Cloud. And at some point, it should recognize, hey, you're using a key value store. By the way, should I create a new one for you, or do you want to use existing one? So let's create a new one. And let's call it Vibrant Bird. It's like a great name for my key value store. All right. Now it is creating or reserving, you see, a subdomain for it. And within a couple of seconds, the app should be ready. There we go. So we can click this link and our app is public. With that, we can submit it to the Advent of Spin. All right, so this was challenge 1. And now it's time to release challenge 2. Let's go there and let's check git log, git push. All right, so let me give you a sneak peek of what challenge 2 is all about. So in 2024, there is challenge 2 right now. And this challenge is all about component dependencies in Spin, which basically means you can encapsulate business logic into a WebAssembly component and integrate that into your Spin apps. So this is challenge 2 is live right now. You have 1 week to complete the challenge, so you can submit till end of day, Sunday. I hope you like the walkthrough for challenge 1. And I hope you will enjoy implementing challenge 2 of the Advent of Spin 2024. With that, see you next Monday again, 5 p.m. Central European Time, where we solve challenge 2 and release challenge 3. Bye-bye.